It's been 5 years and the Geekcast Radio Network would like to give back to you. How, you may ask? Well, first of all, we're coming up with a brand new website to be launched June 1st, 2014. In addition to that, there'll be many new features for interactive abilities. So how do you enter into this magical celebration? Well, Geekcast Radio has a contest where you can win some awesome prizes, ranging from comics, Blu-rays, DVDs, trade paperbacks, and comics, and more. How do you enter? Write in your favorite stories of how the Geekcast Radio Network has affected you in the last 5 years, and how it's unleashed the geek in you. You can also enter by writing reviews on our shows on iTunes. For more information, visit www.geekcastradio.com and click on the banner. So until next time, unleash the geek in you. Welcome to The Pull Bag. Join us as we dig out our latest comics and discuss them with a rotating panel of the GCRN crew. So sit back and enjoy this week's Pull Bag.
Hello and welcome to The Pull Bag. This is episode 71, continuing on in the 75th anniversary Bat Spectacular here inside The Pull Bag in this May 2014. And this time around, we're going to be talking about the classic Batman, The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller with Klaus Janson and Lynn Varley. I'll say again, like I said last time with Year One, I've seen the film, the animated movie, but I've only seen, since they split it up into two parts, I've only seen part one, which is basically Batman versus the mutants. I will say of part one, it was epic. It was awesome for someone who had never read the story before. It was wonderfully done. I see now, looking at this book, why they went with the former RoboCop to voice Batman in this. It was absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I definitely concur.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, this book is a lie. In certain places. Yes, in certain places. Because the trade, you open it up, and it has, in like a... Maybe it's just because it's a... Oh god, not sepia tone. It might be... I don't know. You know that photo effect where it's green?
Yes.
In the background? I don't know if that's... I don't have the names of the damn things. But it's basically Batman in all black and gray with a green background where it says, okay. And then you open to the back of the trade, and it's the Joker in that same style. And I thought, oh, okay, cool. This is going to be black and gray Batman. This is good. I like this. And I should have known from having watched the film that it wasn't going to be that at all. In the trade, you have a little introduction by Jimmy Olsen, which is interesting, to say the least. For this, it's actually an introduction by Frank Miller, but
he's using Jimmy as the.
Yeah, he's using Jimmy. I like it. I think it's interesting, and we have. Book 1, The Dark Knight Returns. Now, when I always heard of this story, I thought it was not necessarily... And this was not like any time recently. This was like back when I was a kid. I always heard of the story and like, oh, Batman went away somewhere. Where did he go? What was he doing? Like, I didn't realize that it was old Batman. And as I said, I mixed up this in Year One, and this is where I have the problem with the art and the layouts. Now, I know one of our super fans, Jeremy Fine, is probably going to be screaming at me at some point about this. It has nothing to do with the narrative of the story. It has nothing to do with how the story is... It has nothing to do with the story that is told. It has to do with how it is told. And as you said last time with Year One, this is told by television. This to me does not work in a comic medium. Not the way they do it here.
It's kind of a toss up for me.
Mm-hmm.
While at the same time I like it, I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the aspect of the comic, I think it's almost a failed attempt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but as far as the actual animation,
Yeah.
I like it better there.
Yeah, see, in the movie it works. But here, and I know people are probably going to say, oh, stop comparing the movie to the comic and blah, blah, blah. Just read the comic and form your opinion on that. And as I said last time with Year One, I didn't watch Dark Knight Returns Part 1 again before reading this. I went into this cult like I saw Dark Knight Returns when it first came out to digital, you know, however long ago that was, last year or something or other. Or it might have been a year before, I don't remember. And, I saw it. I liked it. It was interesting. I thought it was really cool. And one of the main complaints everyone usually has about that film is that Batman doesn't do his monologue. I actually like that he doesn't do his monologue in the film because it's not the monologue itself, it's how it's presented in this book. Because this was what? When did this come out?
It came out, I believe, in. I want to say it was like
Let's see.
86,
Copyright. Where's copyright?
maybe 87.
It doesn't give a. Oh, yeah, it does. Oh, wow. Well, this. Maybe the. No, it was 86. Um, Originally published in single magazine form as Batman The Dark Knight Returns 1 to 4. Copyright 1986 DC Comics, all rights reserved.
Hmm.
But see, that's the thing. Year One was done in '86, so why is the style from Year One and this completely different?
I think because they were going for something completely different.
That's probably true. So Batman is basically retired. Batman has gotten old. Batman needs a cane because that's how he's getting along these days. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to be hard for me. I think we just need to discuss this one because it's going to be hard for me to go page by page or every couple of pages because the way the story is laid out. Basically, this is Batman coming back, wanting to, revitalize himself and seeing that his city needs him once more. And in the first, I think, what is it? The first two books, or the first three books, it's all about Batman versus the mutants.
It is, but it's also him. He's basically trying to have that send off. He's lost
Mm-hmm.
all the thrill of life.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of fighting to regain that. And I think that part of what happens is he's like as you see in the very beginning, he's in a race car.
Yeah.
And he, is trying to essentially, push it to the limits, and he's wearing a Batman-esque RoboCop helmet.
Yeah.
And, they're insinuating he wants to kill himself, and, he's got the mustache and everything, and he's just dated, and he hangs out with Gordon, except now he drinks.
Yeah.
Basically saying, oh, you were fooling everybody with your ginger ale, and so I mean, and then again, he's going through, Crime Alley and it gets hit up by the mutants, and then he's just watching it all take place on TV, and finally just, the Batman part of him snaps.
Mm-hmm.
And
as Alfred says, "Sir, you shaved your mustache."
And then he realizes it's gone, and then it's like a psychological snap back to his true self.
Yep, absolutely. I do like his narrative in this. I do like his monologue when he's talking about, oh, I'm just getting used to this, and oh, this hurts, and oh, that hurts. Oh, I'm sweating like hell. I can't just say it's the suit because it's not. I do like how Miller told this story from Batman's point of view, in the fact that this is an old man in a superhero costume. I do really like that, and I do find it refreshing. And there are moments in this that I absolutely love the art. Even though it is the blue and gray suit, I absolutely love some of these moments. The page where his monologue says, "This should be agony. I should be a mass of aching muscle, broken, spent, unable to move." That image of Batman jumping through the air is just simply amazing. The race car in the beginning, was that... You said it was like Batmobile-esque?
No, I said the helmet he's wearing is Batman-esque mixed with RoboCop.
Right.
The race car is like a Formula One.
Ah, okay. See, in the movie, they did a Formula One race car, but it looked like a hybrid of '89 Batmobile and BTAS Batmobile. It really, really did. At least that's what I got out of it. So Batman is back, and you've got these television people, and you've got these people on the television, these news anchors. They're not even news anchors. They're basically like, Sunday morning or Meet the Press, or these political shows, and they're like, Batman, yay or nay? And that's the part of the story that I cannot follow. I just cannot follow that part of the narrative. I don't know. I do like all the stuff with Gordon and Bruce. I love that. And we, along the way, we meet up with the new Robin, Carrie Kelly, the first girl Robin I think we've ever had. Because most of the time the girls are bats, right?
Yeah.
Bats or birds of prey or something or other.
Yeah, something or other of that. There's never been a female... I mean, well, there was technically a female Robin, just not at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's kind of, seeing Batman reappear.
Ah, brave new world that has such putzes in it. Kids, a lot has changed while your old Uncle Joker's been away. New Gotham, new rules, even a new Batman.
It isn't 65 years in the future, but Legends of the Dark Knight has gone beyond. Batman Beyond, that is.
The new boy. Ears are too long and I miss the cape, but not too shabby. Not too shabby at all.
Join Steve and Mike as they delve into the remaining episodes of the podcast, where they'll cover Batman Beyond, products, games, and more. Check it out only on GeekCastRadio.com.
So while she was meeting him for the first time, it was giving her the need to more or less emulate Batman and kind of stand up for the corruption that has been taking place under all their noses, and with the symbol of Batman kind of rising back out of it, it kind of gave her the ammunition to don the homemade Robin costume.
Yeah. Because I was like, wait a second, did she break into the cave?
No, she's not Terry.
No, wait a second here. He didn't technically break in.
No, he just waltzed right in.
Well, he was trying to free a bat. So, if he happens to find a hidden switch that, turns the clock, inside out, that's not his fault. Um, what I was saying earlier about that giant image of Batman with his monologue, there's another one in here in this chapter with it's after the page where you should probably know what I'm talking about, but it's after the page where we meet Carrie Kelly and after more TV crap, where it's him in shadow and it's him in all black because he's in the shadow. I love that. That's one of the coolest things about this. Some of this art in here that I absolutely love is how they kind of mix almost all styles.
Well, it's basically the ultimate Batman story.
Yeah, that's very true. It's a very, very, very cool story. So we've got Batman trying to take the city back from the mutants. Robin is helping him. And I was really wondering because, like I said earlier, I'd only seen part one of the film. I was wondering how the end of part one was going to work up into the Joker and Superman and everything else. And I gotta say, when I was reading through this and I saw Superman for the first time, I'm like, this reminds me of that old Grayson trailer, because Superman is, oh, he's not as old as Bruce, but he's friggin' old.
Yeah, they're both kind of old, but at the same time, Superman still looks a hell of a lot better.
Well, yeah, that's because Superman doesn't need to take painkillers for 90, half his life.
Yeah, that's true.
I do love, and I am kind of skipping ahead here. I do love Batman's monologue here. There's just the sun, the sky, and him. Like he's the only reason it's all here. Then he ruins everything by talking. I absolutely love that. Now, I did get kind of lost with this story because I'm trying to figure out what happens between the mutants and the time Superman and the Joker show up. Because it's like, I don't know. I read through this. I read every word of it. It didn't register with me.
Well, essentially what happens is Batman more or less confronts the mutants, calling them out, and they basically... he challenges the leader, and he brings his big mofo tank out into the battle, and he's shooting rubber bullets.
They're rubber, honest.
Yeah, and they're bouncing off, and they're like, "Is that supposed to hurt me?" And he's like, "No." And so they kind of go back and forth in their little, argument, more or less. And Batman essentially takes down the mutant leader.
Right.
By playing in his own dirty games, rolling around in the mud and beating the ever-living daylights out of this creature on the ground. And so, Batman's having fun.
For once in his life.
and he's just got this devious grin as he's just beating the hell out of him. And he's just pummeling the nose and everything, and he's getting his body broken, and he's getting beaten with crowbars and everything else. And Batman doesn't actually take him down because he's beating him like a young man would, like he used to. So Carrie Kelly actually has to save him and drag him back to the Batcave. So her and Alfred are patching him up, and the mutant leader's just got a beat up nose, and he's threatening to beat the cops and do all these other things. And so the Joker's watching everything and wanting to get on TV, so he's somewhat waking up.
That's the connection.
And
okay.
Because he's in the asylum, but he's perfectly normal, just talking normal, and nothing, nothing is wrong. It more or less. Bruce is, beaten pretty bad. His arm is in a sling. He's got a bloody nose. He's watching all this, and Carrie Kelly is walking around the Batcave looking at the original Robin suit. And then they're talking about, the mutants and Batman on TV and everything. And Gordon, more or less, is it's his last few days on the job. So Batman calls in a favor, more or less, with him. And, kind of just let them do their thing.
Yep.
And Bruce puts on a robotic brace for his arm so he can still use it.
Yeah.
And still wage war. He goes out on his bat cycle and has Carrie Kelly dress as a mutant. More or less to screw with them.
Yeah, I love
get
that
in the
bat
rings.
cycle.
So the old commissioner is meeting with the new commissioner, and Gordon's more or less like, yeah, this is just kind of what happens, and he's explaining about Batman and everything, and she's like, I don't care about Batman. So Carrie Kelly is setting the bait for the mutants, and Batman's essentially going to meet them at their own game by beating the mutant leader in the mud. And he's like, I'll kill you, blah, blah, blah. And so Batman's, hitting just the right moves and hitting him in the eye and the face and the right movements and everything, and breaking his bones, and takes him down. And so the mutants are pretty much history. So then they don the face of the Batman.
Yeah.
They all take Batman as their leader at this point. And Gordon retires. Yendel takes over. Reagan tells Superman to take care of it.
Yeah. Why is Selena going around in a cosplaying as Wonder Woman?
The Joker did it.
Oh, okay.
To screw with Batman.
That's right, yeah.
And then, of course, there's an amusement park. The Joker's, killed everybody. He's killed everybody at the talk show that he managed to get himself on, because he convinced them he was sane, and follow me, and he kills them all and uses Selena as the another way to kind of put another one to Bruce. And the new commissioner's chasing Joker and Batman equally. Batman gets shot. Joker also gets shot with a batarang to the eye.
All as I can picture in my head is, give me your face.
Yeah, it's more or less that. Batman tells Robin to stay in the helicopter, awaiting orders, and Joker ends up beaten and paralyzed. And he more or less snaps his own neck.
Creepy as all hell.
Screwing with Bruce.
Yeah.
And then Bruce throws a thing on him, disintegrates his body. And then has to escape. And then he actually holds a gun.
Yeah.
And then the plastique explodes, and then he's able to get away underwater, and then he gets taken away by Carrie Kelly, and Superman is sent in.
Yep.
Bruce gets patched up again. The Bat people start making their crazy accusations. Superman goes and stops a nuke, which sets a giant blackout of power. And Bruce is like, Clark, you idiot, you let them do it. I always knew you would. And so he puts back on the cape and cowl, and then they go to the stables and pick up some horses. Uh, and then he, of course, takes on all of the mutants and the Bat people, and Gordon's having to help with a fire in his neighborhood, and you see Superman being basically obliterated by the nuke, and down to like skeletal zombie remains. Landing in a field, he absorbs all the sunlight energy from everything, killing an entire giant field to grow back. And then everybody's pretty much fighting each other. Batman takes control of the situation, makes everybody kind of join his side. You meet Oliver Queen, who's missing an arm.
Yeah, I was wondering what that connection was.
Well, he's good friends with Bruce for, good reason. Two vigilantes, billionaires, and he escaped from jail.
Yeah.
But I find it funny that he says, he says, they'd love to frost me as long as they can do it without admitting I exist. And then he says, but you, Bruce, man, they have to kill you. And he's like, and then Oliver says, I always knew it would come down to you and the schoolboy. He says, when it all comes down, I want a piece of him. A small piece will do, for old time's sake, and he points at his arm.
Yeah.
Meaning that Superman probably cut it off at some point.
Yep.
And then he leaves him a nice little message and says where, and then Bruce says Crime Alley. And then he starts armoring up, setting his big plan into motion, and he's in his Robo Bat suit. Basically his Hulkbuster armor. And he's got a timer going, and Alfred's at the Batcave, and it says T-minus 11 minutes and 24 seconds to detonation. He's going to blow up the entire Batcave in the Wayne Manor. And Carrie Kelly is using the Bat Tank as bait for Superman.
Yeah, I love that Bat Tank. Between the Bat Cycle and the Bat Tank, those are the two of the best vehicles in this.
And then this comes my favorite part, where Batman actually fights Superman. Yeah. And he plugs himself into a light post, into his metal armor, and electrocutes the crap out of Superman.
Yeah, he does.
And then Bruce begins to pummel him, and Clark rips off his helmet. And Bruce starts throwing stuff at him, and he throws stuff at Bruce, and Bruce gets a couple ribs busted. And then they're just waiting for Oliver, who comes out of nowhere, of course gets shot by the cops. And he's hanging on, and he manages to fire his bow with his teeth and his one arm. And
wow.
It hits at Superman, and then it disintegrates, and Bruce says, it wasn't easy to synthesize, Clark. It took years and it cost a fortune. Luckily, I had both. And Oliver drops into the tank and they get away. And all Superman is going is, Bruce, your heart. And then Bruce says, you're beginning to get the idea, Clark. This is the end for both of us. And he starts beating the hell out of him because he's basically mortal from absorbing a bunch of dust kryptonite.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you said it took him years to synthesize it, I'm like, oh, that's kryptonite right there.
And that was, I thought that was ingenious on his part, having it in reserve, because, he always has to have a backup plan. And
oh, yeah.
So, being that he can finally beat the hell out of Clark without being overpowered because of the kryptonite, which eventually he said will work his way out of his body, he's basically putting Superman down, saying you've become a joke, and he says you want to remember Clark in all the years to come, in your worst private moments. I want you to remember my hand at your throat. I want you to remember the one man who beat you. And then Bruce's heart stops. And then he falls over. And then Alfred walks outside the Wayne Manor and dies of a heart attack. And because Bruce is in his 70s or whatever, 60s or 70s here. I'm guessing 60s, but then Alfred's got to be in his like 80s or 90s.
I would have thought Alfred would have been dead by now.
I would have thought that too, but
because every time I've seen Alfred Pennyworth with Bruce, I've never seen the young spy. I've always seen the old retired spy. If you go off a lot, okay, sure, the Nolan verse, I guess you could say Michael Caine's Alfred was a little bit younger than Michael Gough's in the Burton films because he was considerably younger, but like I've never not seen Alfred, up until Beware the Batman, young. So yeah, I don't know how Alfred's still alive at this point.
But it was interesting because then you get to see Wayne Manor blow sky high. And then Clark starts getting defensive of Bruce with the cops, and he says, "Don't touch him."
Yeah.
And then they're at his grave, and the preacher's saying everything, and then the news article's going by saying that the revelation of Bruce Wayne is Batman. And then it says that mysteriously all of his belongings and all of his money has come up missing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Selina and Commissioner Gordon are at the funeral, and she says, "You son of a bitch, I know who killed him." And then Gordon's like, "Selina's is no good." And in the animated version, he says a friend, and then Clark says, "I think so." And then Gordon says, "Yeah, same here, more or less."
Yeah.
And Clark's the last one sitting there. And you see this one person in a cloak. You can tell it's Carrie Kelly.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you can start hearing Bruce's heartbeat kicking back in. And Clark looks over at Carrie Kelly, and she's looking like all scared and everything. And then he just looks at her, and then he smiles and winks, and then walks away. And you get to hear that Bruce kind of narrating, more or less, saying that what Oliver said was true, that he needed to be dead to have his mission continue. And they have a giant underground bat cave that he has some of the mutant / bat people and Oliver and Carrie Kelly running, and a new bat computer and power and everything else kicking in. And he's not in his bat suit, but he's training them how to become what he's done his entire life. And then he basically says that this will be a good life or good enough.
Yeah.
And then it ends there, which I think that progressively through this trade, the art gets better and it gets clearer. Plus, I think that the story shows that no matter how old Batman is, his mission never stops.
Right. Well, as Amanda Waller said it, the world always will need a Batman. So, she did Project Batman Beyond. But it's one of those things where, yeah, you're right. The art does get progressively better for me. It's just the television news stuff and the talk show stuff that just confused the crap out of me. As far as even reading left to right, it still confused the crap out of me because they were so together. They were so close together. In the trade, it has the original covers. And book one's original cover was that epic lightning shot of Batman in silhouette. I absolutely love that. I will never not enjoy that cover.
Yeah, that cover. Unfortunately, my trade does not have that cover.
Really?
I have a different trade. It's a different cover. There's a newer and an older version. I'm not quite sure which one is which. I'm pretty sure mine is the older one, the original one, and it's got the same kind of art as what's in the inside. But I personally love the blue with the lightning and Batman flying overhead.
There's one, Hunt the Dark Knight, Book 3. It's a cover of the Bat Signal with Carrie Kelly under it, it's shining on a wall, and it's her under it. Absolutely love that. The Dark Knight Falls is basically Robo Batman versus Superman. Um, I think that's a cool cover. I will say what's interesting about this new trade is the fact that they give you a uh, The Dark Knight Falls, a story for 46 pages by Frank Miller. They actually give it to you in prose form, like it was an actual book versus in comic form. And it's in 3 acts. I absolutely love that. I almost want to read that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, I honestly think this trade, for me personally, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying anything against it. It just the way it's structured, it it's not even me saying, "Oh, I prefer modern." It has nothing to do with that. Just the way the story is structured within the pages, it just doesn't work for me. The story itself is great. Absolutely love the story. Um, but I just can't wrap my head around the way that it's structured in certain places. I think for me, it's probably going to get another 3.5, like year one did, which is liked it, because I did like it. 3.5 is not by any means a bad mark on our universal rating system, and as I said last time, it'll be in the post, so you guys can go and see the explanations of how the star ratings go. Um, the story, parts of it wowed me. Other parts, it just didn't really do anything for me. I don't know. I know our super fan Jeremy Fine said that it's probably one of the greatest, one of the greatest pieces of literature of all time. I could agree to that if I was reading it as a book. As a comic, I I don't know. It didn't resonate with me as I thought it would. Now I'm hoping because I do plan on getting the Dark Knight Returns Deluxe Edition on iTunes, which is both parts of the movie in one shot. I do want to watch them back to back to get the feel of the full animated feature.
Yeah.
What about you? What are some of your final thoughts on this one?
I think that it's a very stellar Batman story. I mean, when I first read it, and I think that it helps if you're not a fan of the style of
Mm-hmm.
artistry on here. I think it helps seeing the animated version because it kind of puts it in perspective, and it does add some more story elements to it. But I do say that despite whether you like the style of the drawing or not, the story definitely had an impact on Batman. For even to today, it's still, if you look at this in year one,
Mm-hmm.
there's elements of it in Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises, of all
Right.
three.
Oh no,
And
I'm not saying that it didn't
and
have an impact on
that's,
Batman.
I think, why those were so good. Is
Yeah.
because it had the influence of these comics in them
Mm-hmm.
that helped cement the story of Batman and give it kind of a real feeling to it, compared to how it turned out.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying this story and year one did not have an impact on the character of Batman. I'm saying that it didn't impact me the way that might have impacted someone that grew up reading it. That's what I'm saying. Um, but no, I agree. I mean, these two, last time in episode 70 and this time in episode 71 of the pull bag, these two stories are iconic. They just didn't resonate with me as I thought they would have. I think the animated features for both resonate with me more because I'm actually seeing the comic come to life in an animated form.
That makes sense.
I'm just an old fogey. What do I know?
You old fart.
All right. We are almost at the halfway point here for the Batman 75th Anniversary Spectacular Spotlight Month here in the Pull Bag. Coming up next time will be the Killing Joke and then a Death in the Family. And then Steve and I will go back to finish off Beware the Batman chapters 6 through 10. Those are in episodes 72, 73, and 74 of the Pull Bag. Where can people get in touch with you if they would so like to?
You can get a hold of me on Twitter at SCP21.
And of course, you can follow me at TFG1Mike. You can also follow at Geekcast Radio, and you can also go to geekcastradio.com. Be sure to make your great escape into comics, and we will catch you next time.
Ooh. Technical difficulties. Let's move on, shall we?
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pull Bag, the GCRN's comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate our show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you are leaving the message for, and your name. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. Send us an email feedback at geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at geekcastradio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.